And thanks again to everyone for being here today. I want to thank our candidates for taking time to be here today. The city election, I think, is an important part of what we do as a city, and it's important to be engaged in that process. And so we have the opportunity today to hear from them and speak on the various issues that present our city. I want to take a quick moment and thank Mayor John Clark, who's here today as well, who for his service. He's running unopposed, so he's not going to be up here addressing everyone today, but we do want to thank him for his service. I also want to thank Eric Heitch and Carrie Upshaw from the Board of Education, who are also running unopposed for their service as well. Our past mayor, Dennis Phillips, is here today, and we want to thank him for being here, as well as Tommy Ulterman, one of our current aldermen, as well as Mike McIntyre. So without further ado, we're going to get started. The format for today is going to be an opening statement from each of our candidates. We'll begin in alphabetical order with opening remarks, and they have 90 seconds to address on what they find important about that. They will come and speak with their opening remarks from the podium, and then we'll begin with questions. We have 3 topics that we'll be covering today. One, Kingsport issues, infrastructure issues, as well as economic development. The candidates will be getting questions within those 3 topics over the course of 3 rounds, and they'll have 1 minute to respond to those questions. And our timekeeper is at the center table here, so she'll raise her hand when your time is up, and if you'll pay attention to that so we can make sure that we get through and everybody has a chance to respond. And then they'll conclude with 1 minute closing remarks. So at this time, I'm going to ask Jennifer Adler with opening remarks.
Excellent. Well, thank you so very much for this opportunity to speak with you all this afternoon. I'm going to make a quick assumption, which is at this late stage in the election process that you all have some sense of who we are. If you don't, there are some flyers on the table here that will tell you about who I am, why I'm running for alderman, and my priorities. So I want to take a different approach this morning. A Kingsport citizen asked me a couple weeks ago, they said, after all the candidate forums, after the surveys, what are the questions you wish you had been asked? And I thought that was a great question. The questions that we ask reveal our values and priorities. And so I'm going to share with you briefly some of the questions that I wish I had been asked in this process, and hopefully will be asked today. How do we connect more Kingsport adults with opportunities to further develop their skills and abilities? How do we address economic, social, and other factors that might be impeding the success of Kingsport children? How do we develop coordination among many groups and agencies that are pursuing economic development in the name of our city? Is state theater on my list of priorities? How do we involve more Kingsport citizens in civic life? As we grow our city through attracting newcomers, how should we welcome and incorporate them into the life of the city? What aspects of health, safety, and well-being should be a priority for the city? And how as a city do we hold ourselves accountable for the visioning processes we undertake so that we can make forward progress? I don't have the answer to all these questions, and I honestly don't think any one of us do. But what I'm committed to as a member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen is working toward these answers and working out them as a community. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Jennifer. At this time, Joe Begley with his opening remarks.
My name is Joe Begley. I'm from Kingsport, born and raised. People ask why I'm running. Is this mic on? Can y'all hear me? I have a vested interest in the success of Kingsport. I'm a real estate guy here. You know, I need people to keep moving here for me to continue to thrive. We have property here in Kingsport, so it's really important for Kingsport to succeed, for me to succeed. Why am I running? I want to make Kingsport better. I don't want to get complacent. I want to push and make sure that we're doing innovative things, new things to keep growing. I think it's easy to get complacent. If you look at Sullivan County schools, they've gone from 20,000 to 10,000. You can look at Eastman, they've gone from 15 to about 7,500. People, you know, do you know how to boil a frog? You put it in cold water and turn the temperature up slowly. If you put it in hot water, it jumps out. So we got to realize that we've got an older, aging city with older demographics, and we've got to be diversified in our job market, and we've got to push ourselves to be better and not take the easy road at times. I want your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Betsy Cooper.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to stand before you today and let you know a little bit about myself, why I'm running, and kind of what I'm about. I get asked the question a lot, are you running for board of mayor and alderman? And the answer is very simple. I've narrowed it down to two main reasons. The first reason is I love Kingsport. I was born and raised in Kingsport. My husband was born and raised here. We raised two daughters here. We're deep-rooted in the rich heritage and the wonderful, colorful history of Kingsport. I want to serve my hometown. This is the place that I'm going to live the rest of my life, and I have a desire to serve my hometown. The second reason is my desire to serve. I have an innate desire to serve others, to give back to the community that's given me so much. And since my retirement from Kingsport City Schools, I've tried to do that. I've worked for a court-appointed special advocate for abused and neglected children in our community. I was elected to and served on the school board. I was appointed to the governing body of the Innovation Academy, the STEM school that was a joint venture between Kingsport City and Sullivan County. I'm involved in local missions at my church. So the things that I'm passionate about, which are quality of life, family values, education, are the things that I want to work toward and move Kingsport forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Rat Cross.
Thank you for having us today. This is a wonderful opportunity for the community to get further acquainted with their candidates. This is a very important election, and as you may know, the early voting numbers are well below what we experienced last election. I'm hearing about 75% each day. So I would like to motivate this group to get out there and vote, call your people, have them vote, and let's show an interest in Kingsport. Having said that, I'm running for office because I am engaged in the community. I'm passionately working with people who want to forward Kingsport into our next century. You know, we're founded on the premise of innovation and pioneership, and I don't think that's changed in 100 years. I look around the room, there's lots of pioneers and innovators here, and we're going to go forward and win in that direction also. So what I've tried to do with the campaign is to just pile up the community wins. Every time that I'm able to speak someplace, I want to draw attention to a local business or a local event or a project or a neighborhood. And I think I'm having some success in those areas. So regardless of the results of the election, I'm a progressive candidate and I'm bringing progress to Kingsport. And I'd really appreciate your support and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Darrell Duncan.
Thank you. On July the 21st, 2015, I took the oath of the BMA, and I can truly say that was one of the happiest days and most humbling days of my life. To be able to serve the citizens of Kingsport has truly been one of the highest of honors. I would like to just give you just a few of our major accomplishments that we've done just since I've been on the board in the last 21 months. We have a 5-year business plan that's carrying us on into the future. We have a sustainable paving program now where we used to borrow money to pave, and now we've got more roads in Kingsport. It's going to be paved this summer than the history of Kingsport, all paid in cash. Also, Moody's, our financial investors, gave our city a 2 AA strong rating. That's the highest rating that our city has ever received, and that's something I think we all should be certainly proud of. We're doing everything we've done. We're doing infrastructure, and we'll discuss that, I'm sure, a little bit deeper. But we're doing this, and we're still the most affordable city in the Tri-Cities to live. So just think of the progress that we've made in just a short period of time since I've been on the board. So I humbly ask that you just look at this progress, look at the experience, and let's continue to grow Kingsport. And I would really appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Colette George.
I'm Colette George with Blue Ridge Properties, and I am using this as a makeup, because I'm with the Rotary Sunrise. And I hope you all come attend ours for breakfast next Wednesday. I'm Colette George with Blue Ridge Properties. I've been an alderman for the past 4 years. I think we have done some great things. I think Kingsport is faced with some challenges in the next coming years. I'm very concerned about Kingsport recruiting high-paying jobs. I think we do have some great opportunities, and I want to continue to serve as an alderman to make sure we move forward and look at what we can do for economic development as well as quality of life issues. I believe in Kingsport. This is my home. Obviously, I've invested a lot of money downtown. I do have to pay it back. Ted's Field's here, and he knows that I have to pay it back. And, you think when you make an investment, everybody would say thank you very much, and the bank wouldn't want their money, but it doesn't work that way. They actually want their money and more so. So I am invested in this community. I want it to be the best place it can be, and I think it is a great place. But we do need to keep moving forward in several areas to continue to improve our community so that it will be everyone's choice to live here. So I'm asking for you all to go out and vote. We are all going to be camping out at early voting. We're going to be lonely. Please come see us. If you have friends that live in the city and can vote, bring them, because it really is a lot of turnout. Thank you very much. Which way do I go?
Next, Tom Parham.
Thank you. Hello, friends. I believe I know just about everybody here. Don't hold it against me. It is an honor to serve you. It's an honor to be here with this distinguished group. Got 90 seconds to tell you who I am, what I'm going to do, and how we're going to do it, and that ain't going to happen. So let me just quickly say, I'm a local guy, local schools, local universities, great career at Eastman. I'm very thankful. Got talked into running for the office of alderman by Dennis Phillips, Jeanette Blazer, and Mike O'Neill. I had no plans at all, but it's been a delightful experience. It really, really has. 8 years as an alderman, a couple years as vice mayor. Why am I running? Quite simply, I enjoy it. It's really an enjoyable job to serve others, to learn more, and to take my experiences that I've had at Eastman and other places and put them to work. What do I bring? Experience and maturity, leadership with 45 years of public service. Those of you who know me, I'm progressive, I'm conservative, I encourage growth, and I'm all about regionalism. So my goals are, personal goals are very much so in support with One Kingsport. We've got a great team of people. Our leadership with our mayor is outstanding. I'm excited about the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Mark Vickers.
Howdy, y'all. My name's Mark Vickers, and now, thanks to Mr. Begley, I do know how to boil a toad, or a frog. Thank you. So maybe we'll go frog gigging later or something. Who knows? But anyway, so I'm Mark Vickers. My family's from here. My family's been here for over 100 years. I am 26 years old, though, so I have not been here for 100 years. But anyway, my family is very deeply rooted in Kingsport. Most of them are entrepreneurs. You got Vickers Construction, Vickers Roofing. Doc Pierce was my great uncle. So they have all been very, very active in this community. I myself was an entrepreneur. Straight out of high school with $5,000, I got the smart idea to start a business, and I grew that business, had several employees, and recently sold out a few years ago to go back to school because I got tired of the grind. So anyway, so now I'm a student, and I plan on finishing my degrees next year, actually, in history, economics, and education, and a philosophy degree. But anyway, so my plans for Kingsport is I'm a common sense guy. A lot of people, I'm a little conservative, but I'm progressive. I'll understand if you talk to me. I will try to understand your point of view. I will not shut anybody out. I believe that infrastructure is the most important part of the city. Without infrastructure, we don't have a city. Without the citizens, we don't have a city. So those two things are really important. And I'll get on to the rest of the stuff later. Thank you.
And last but not least, Robert Williams.
Good afternoon. 43 years ago, my wife Ann and I moved here to the model city to establish a practice of medicine and to raise our family. We could have gone pretty much any place in the United States, but we chose Kingsport. We made the right choice. 3 months ago, I became increasingly concerned about the opioid pain medicine epidemic. I met with my minister, I met with the city manager, and I met with the mayor, Mayor Clark. About that time, I became aware of the upcoming election for alderman in May. And one thing led to another, and here I am. Originally, in January, I had no intention of seeking this office. I am a thoughtful person. I am conservative leaning, and I'm a pragmatist. I have the time and the interest to serve as alderman. But I will place special emphasis on this opioid epidemic that is infiltrating all levels of our lives, and it literally can destroy societies. While I can't solve the problem, and as a physician we have a tremendous degree of responsibility in this mess, I can be a voice to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and to the public, and I'll do that, in addition to the other responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we will begin now with the first round of questions. The first topic will be economic development, and the questions will be different for the candidates, but they will be under this same topic. We had asked our club to provide us some questions, and they've done that. I'll pull them out, and we'll see what questions we've got. Now, the candidates were not previously made aware of the questions, but they were informed of what the general topics would be. We're going to begin on this first round. We'll start to my right and begin with Tom. So the first question for you, and we've got a microphone you can pass down. If elected, what would be your strategy to recruit new businesses to Kingsport?
I guess I want to say we have a strategy in place that I have a lot of confidence in, and that was one of the key needs that we identified with One Kingsport. But we have our strategy for development now compared to, say, 10 years ago or 20 years ago has expanded because it's very much more regional now. If we join together for a large business or opportunity on a regional basis, but if we're competing for a small restaurant, then that gets to be local. We have a team which includes, an impressive team which includes our mayor, the Chamber of Commerce, with vice presidents from business, and others. And these guys meet almost every week. We see them interviewing and talking to prospects. There is a lot of things in the mill, a lot of opportunities, and our infrastructure is such that I think we're in good shape.
Thank you, Tom. Candidate Begley, how can Kingsport help develop the property at the Interstate 2681 intersection, and how important is this property's growth to our city?
I think the Taylors in general are working very diligently trying to get that developed, but with the Pinnacle getting ahead of us, it's a tough sell. There's only so many brick and mortar guys out there, and they're going on a whole new thing. You know, back 20 years ago, they wanted 50,000 residents in a city, and we were trying to get to the 50,000. Johnson City got there first. They got Liquor by the Drink first. They got a little bit ahead. Now it's per foot sales, and they're getting stricter and stricter on what they want in brick and mortar. Amazon's, somebody that's got to be taken seriously. They're making it really hard on the brick and mortar guys. I think we need to do everything we can to get those tax dollars back out there. I mean, we're losing the mall tax dollars, we're losing some other tax dollars toward the Bristol area, and that needs to be, other than jobs, that needs to be one of our number one priorities out there. But how you get there is, support the developers if you can, but it's up to them and their agents to go out and try to find the tenants.
Thank you. Candidate George, do you support or oppose the thought of de-annexation?
I oppose de-annexation, and the reason for de-annexation is what has happened in different areas is you had other cities annex areas and never provide plan of services. And they started taking in tax dollars without doing the things they needed to do. And a lot of times this was not, property that touched. They went out further and connected with roads. In our area where we have annexed, we annexed for several different reasons. One, we annexed because there was some failing septics. And some of it was to the point that the state came in and said something needs to be done. And you have to go out and get to these areas. We have a lot of people that have requested to be annexed, and there had to be ways to get to people that requested it. A lot of developers did request it. When we annex, it's not a money-making process for the city. We've had to invest a lot of money in sewers and infrastructures, and apparently I'm out of time. But I will answer that further.
Thank you. Dr. Williams, if elected, what would be your strategy to recruit new businesses to Kingsport?
Well, in regards to the I-81 property out there, I'm wondering, since we're low on brick and mortar opportunities, why not go after a regional distribution center? These are drawn to the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area. Everything wants to be in Middle Tennessee. We're not getting, Tennessee does not end in Knoxville like most people think. And we're not getting the support we need up here. But I think a regional distribution center gets around that thing, or what are we going to do with the space we have, and how are we going to recruit new business that actually hires people with a decent wage?
Thank you. Candidate Adler, do you support or oppose de-annexation?
I oppose de-annexation for many of the reasons that Colette has already described. Anytime a city, when they reasonably annex an area, should provide city services to that area. That means making sure that there's adequate fire personnel available in that area, adequate ambulance services, adequate sewer and water lines. We've made an investment in many of these areas that we've annexed. I also have a concern, too, about creating maps where we have suddenly pockets of annexed and de-annexed areas and continuity of services. So because of the infrastructural investments in particular that a city makes into annexed areas, that would be the reason I would oppose de-annexation.
Thank you. Candidate Duncan and Alderman Duncan, how would TIF financing or pilot financing play into our economic development plan for Kingsport?
Well, we've seen that quite a bit recently. One good example, I think, is the Bray property down here off of Center Street. We're looking for the apartments to go in. There was a pilot program or TIF money that went into that. And I think you have to look at the economic development and what the payback is. It's a $32 million development. There's $16 million of economic impact coming back to our city during the time that it's being built. And then you're going to have up to like 400 people living in 248 apartments, which is about a $6 million investment per year after that. So you have to look at what money you're giving. This down here takes off $1.1 million from the city debt as soon as they buy the property or commit to it. So we're waiting on that. It's going to happen. But I think without the incentive, we probably wouldn't get that. You've got to be competitive to the other cities.
Thank you. Candidate Cross, if elected, what would be your strategy to recruit new businesses to Kingsport?
Well, if elected, I would certainly continue to use the tools that we have in play, and those are necessary in the competitive market that we're in. But I think it's also okay to investigate some new tools and get some fresh ideas on the table. One thing that I've done as a candidate is just to invite small business to Kingsport to fill empty business vacancies owned by local owners. And once I'm able to get someone here in Kingsport, it's not just all talk. They can look around and see what a beautiful place this is and how logistically strong we are. And also, the Kingsport spirit, although they might not catch it on their first visit, they feel it, and they leave saying great things about Kingsport. So using the tools that are in place, inviting people, shaking hands, meeting people, getting a stream of people to come to Kingsport, look how we do things, look what we have to offer, and letting them decide that, yeah, this place is attractive enough for me to locate a business here. So that's one thing that I am doing, and I think we should also keep our ears open for new ideas.
Thank you. Candidate Cooper, a similar question that's been asked. How important is the interchange, Interstate 2681 interchange, how important is that property's growth to our city?
I think it's extremely important. I think that that's kind of the gateway into our area. And I think it also, when the private sector and the city government works together, great things can happen. And so I think that we need to communicate with each other and try to recruit, businesses and work together to develop that area. That, like I said, that area is a gateway into Kingsport, into our area. So, and it's the location of it makes it very attractive to businesses. I think that it was said that like just big distributors, brick and mortar stores. I know there's some plans now or some talk about some of the auto dealers moving down there. So I think there's a little bit of rumble about what's going to happen down there, but I think we need to continue to be able to communicate and encourage development of that area.
Thank you. And Candidate Vickers, last question to you. Do you support or oppose de-annexation?
I oppose de-annexation for the sheer fact of it's a huge investment for the city to annex an area, but I feel like years ago we should have done a little more due diligence and instead of focusing on populated areas with our annexation to get our population numbers and get our tax base, we should have focused on getting more open land as well. That would have helped with a lot of the development problems that we have today, because you can buy 10 acres in Johnson City for what you can buy 1 acre in Kingsport for, and that's just because we're out of good buildable land that's cheap for the investor to build on. And I feel like if we would have done that, we would have been better. But to each his own. So we're going to have to work towards taking care of what we've got, taking care of the citizens that we have, especially in Colonial Heights, and make sure that they are happy with the situation. That way that they don't ever ask for de-annexation. Thank you.
Okay, that completes round one on that topic, and our second topic is going to be on infrastructure, and we're going to go back down the line for this round. So the first question will go to you, Candidate Vickers, which is, do you believe that infrastructure attracts and retains residents? Why or why not?
I believe infrastructure definitely attracts and retains residents. Nobody wants to drive on a road with a bunch of holes on it. I'm just going to be honest. I feel sorry for the people that live down in down towards Cloud Apartments with Trent Street. Trent Street is a mess. It's a concrete street. It's got 6 to 8 inch deep holes chipped up in it. I mean, infrastructure is important. Nobody wants to drive on roads like that. And I think the more investment that we do in infrastructure, the better off we'll be. So sewer, we got to work on our sewer systems. We got to work on our water systems more. We definitely need to work on our roads, and we got to get some sidewalks in some neighborhoods repaired and some new sidewalks put in some areas. That way, people have low-income families have ways to travel in Kingsport when CATS is no longer running in the afternoons. I know that's a big problem with Stone Drive right now. You've got families trying to walk from Gibson Mill to like Walmart and other stores on Stone Drive, and they're afraid to get hit. So, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Cooper, what is your plan for addressing blighted neighborhoods in Kingsport that need assistance to become thriving neighborhoods once again?
I think it's very important to focus on some of those neighborhoods, and I think there's been some emphasis on that with carpenters' helpers. I know that the city recognized carpenters' helpers, so I think those neighborhoods need some added support. I think we need to go into those neighborhoods and like we said, the infrastructure, the sidewalks, some of the potholes, some of the things, we need to encourage those, and I think we are becoming more proactive instead of reactive and working on some of those things. But I know that there's some areas that there's some plans in the near future to tear down some things and to rebuild and redevelop. So I think we need to continue to be proactive in this instead of reactive to when a big issue occurs.
Thank you. Candidate Cross, what can the city do to improve infrastructure around the city right now?
Well, I believe that infrastructure is the most important delivery of service that the city has. We can't deliver public safety if we don't have infrastructure. So it certainly commands our attention, and I think we're on the right path as far as revitalizing our maintenance plans for the existing infrastructure. I think we can go forward with that. One thing that I would forward as an alderman is that we look creatively at integrating infrastructure with beautification and functionality, especially supporting multimodal transportation. When we get multimodal transportation involved, which can be anything other than getting in your car and driving, then we start reaping benefits that are hard to measure, but everyone would receive them as benefits, including cleaner air, cleaner water, better wages kept in our own pockets because riding a bike is cheaper than buying fuel, and not to mention preserving the life of the infrastructure. Our existing infrastructure will go farther if we'll take other means of transportation besides our car, and our infrastructure will tell the people how they can do that.
Thank you. Alderman Duncan, do you believe that infrastructure attracts and retains residents? Why or why not?
Well, I certainly do. I mean, the city, if you've lived here for a number of years like I have, lived in the city for 37 years, we can look back and you could literally just see the water lines just bursting out from under the streets. If you look back, we don't have that problem anymore. We have solved that problem. And so it's much like what's been said. To attract businesses, you've got to have an appearance that you are growing, and we feel like we've got progress in that direction, but the infrastructure plays a big part in that. And so where there's paving of roads, which we have a sustainable paving program I spoke of earlier, and the many other areas of the infrastructure, we're putting a new $13.5 million water intake line in right now that will supply us for the next 100 years for our city. So it plays a huge part in not only attracting residents, but businesses as well. So our water system is taxed at about 4 or 5% right now. So we've got plenty of available water ready.
Thank you. Candidate Adler, what is your plan for addressing blighted neighborhoods in Kingsport that need assistance to become thriving neighborhoods once again?
So I will tell a quick story. When my parents came to visit us in Kingsport probably about a year ago, my mom made the comment about how so many people in so many neighborhoods invest in their homes and keep their yards well kept. And I thought about the fact that that sort of investment in your own neighborhood is contagious to other people. And we can support ways to improve people's neighborhoods simply by sort of encouraging people simply to beautify their own home. Maintaining a house is expensive for us, those of us who own homes, we know that. In particular cases for very low income areas, providing tax incentives and breaks for maintenance, particularly in terms of critical maintenance for homes, is a good way to address this issue. The final thing I'd say is that there are a lot of cities in many places dealing with this question and looking to what other cities have done that has made a big difference is a way to think about that. But I would encourage low-cost, creative solutions to thinking about addressing some of those issues.
Thank you. Dr. Williams, as a long-time resident of Kingsport, in your opinion, what are the immediate infrastructure needs that need to be addressed within the city?
Well, one area I would like to see addressed is the 2-mile narrowing of Center Street from 4 lanes to 2 lanes through the middle part of town. This, in my opinion, was a mistake. It bottlenecks traffic. We have events downtown, and leaving those events is complicated. This also should be redone on what's the street coming in? Clinchfield Street. That is a main artery to access our Level 1 Trauma Center. So I believe the city made a mistake. I think it's fine if the city admits their mistake and then corrects their mistake. I think that would improve public image tremendously. That is infrastructure, and I believe it should be addressed.
Thank you. Alderman George, what can the city do, and what is the city doing currently to improve infrastructure around town?
Well, as I think several people have mentioned, the city is doing quite a lot with the paving. We do have a sidewalk fund, and we are going in, and as we have been doing, retrofitting sidewalks, which I think is very important. We've just completed, or almost, I guess, completed the raw water intake, which is huge, and where we are being able to bring the water in without using piping that's almost 100 years old. So I think the city, in the 4 years that I have served as an alderman, I think we have really focused on the infrastructure, and a lot of things have been done. I think we all expect to flush our toilet and everything work. We all expect the roads to be great. I don't necessarily think I would move because I have a pothole on my road, because obviously if you've come to my house, you know they're there. But I do think it's very important to attract businesses to have the water, the sewer, the roads in the condition that they are, and be able to explain to people the quality of what we do have, because we've really done a lot.
Thank you. Candidate Begley, similar question to Dr. Williams. In your opinion, as a resident of the City of Kingsport, what are the immediate infrastructure needs that need to be addressed?
Well, I think Chattanooga's had a lot of success. We think of traditional infrastructure as road, sewer, water, but now it's broadband technology. And I think Chattanooga touts themselves as one of the fastest Wi-Fi internet services in the country, and it's had much success. So, if we're wanting to go out there and recruit, I mean, we're not recruiting. I mean, we got to mentally get out of, we're competing with Johnson City, or we're competing with Sullivan County. We're competing with Nashville, Atlanta, Charlotte. We got to get, a little more innovative. Quit thinking small. It's a big world. As somebody mentioned earlier, everybody knows it's hard to get them past Nashville. Nashville's got a little bit of pull down there, and then once they get downtown, once they have all the amenities, it's hard to pull them out of there. The young people like the bigger cities, and they have a lot of land to develop, and it makes it tough. So we have to get innovative, and we have to get our hands dirty, roll up our sleeves, and work a little harder.
Thank you. Alderman Parham, last question in this topic for you. What is your plan for addressing blighted neighborhoods in Kingsport that need assistance to become thriving neighborhoods once again?
One thing I'm very excited about, most of us are, is the KHRA plan, which is basically going to rebuild, replace, or renovate all of our low-cost projects in Kingsport, every single one of them. And several of them, or maybe most of them, are 25, 30 years old. That's a game changer. We can remember how Riverview was a few years ago. Look at it now. It's a beautiful, nice neighborhood. People take a lot of pride in their homes. The drug problem has essentially disappeared, and the neighbors are looking after the security for their neighborhood. Their kids are playing in the street. That's a good example of what needs to be done in the city. That is the first, I believe I'm correct, that's the first and number one allocation for One Kingsport. That took I recall about 25% of this year's One Kingsport money that went to those neighborhoods. I'm out of town. Time.
Thank you very much.
Out of town, too.
The last topic for our candidates is going to be on quality of life, and particularly the One Kingsport initiative. And the way we're going to handle this last round, so everybody kind of has a different chance to respond in the course of questions, is we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order. So the first question will go to Dr. Williams. Which, and we'll have to pass the mic around a little bit here.
Forgot that.
Which One Kingsport project do you believe is the most impactful to Kingsport?
I think the most important thing, whether it's One Kingsport or anything else, is jobs. Without jobs, without people being employed, without people having money to spend, all the other things that One Kingsport is working towards may not work. So that their emphasis on that, from my recollection of looking at that, it's skewed towards amenities, appearance, and so forth, and it may be a little light on the emphasis on jobs. So it is jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Vickers, as an alderman, if elected, how are you going to help get new residents involved in the city of Kingsport?
How I'm going to help get residents involved in the City of Kingsport. Well, the biggest thing is it's my generation that we're wanting to get involved in Kingsport. They're wanting the millennials to move to Kingsport. They're wanting to get the influx of youth into Kingsport because our tax base is 55 and older. That's our largest tax base right now. It's I think it's like 32%. So that's a huge number of tax base. And so basically by having somebody their age in local government, they feel like they're represented. They feel like somebody has got their back. Because if you've looked at the age of the board, the average age is definitely not below 50, I would assume. So I'm just saying, the youngest person on there is, yeah. So anyway, I'm not getting into ages. Anyway. Yeah. So, but anyway, so I feel like having somebody my age representing them in government and able to entice them to come out and help clean up Kingsport and help go downtown and do the concert things would be a great thing, to feel like they're, they've got somebody with their back.
Thank you. Next question goes to Alderman Parham. After 1 year, what needs to be done to continue progress for the One Kingsport initiatives?
I think the most important thing to keep it going, let's be real candid. I think we need to elect or make sure that we have a very progressive board, and I see a lot of progressive people here. But that's key, and we need to continue to support it. And the communications is absolutely key. And we've got a great start in communicating better with the citizens of Kingsport. We need to keep that up. In terms of support, we really need to get the citizens aggressively supporting it, understanding it, and involved. And I think we've just, with the first year into the plan, the advisory committee is doing a great job sifting through the projects and bringing the board the ones that are most important, that are reasonable and achievable, and we're going to publicize the heck out of those.
Thank you. Candidate Alderman George, question for you is, how do you feel about adding projects to the One Kingsport initiative list that were not generated by the original summit?
As one of the younger members on the current board, at the age of 54, that's I feel that we have wonderful, intelligent, brilliant people in Kingsport. And a lot of the projects that we have done over the years were not planned projects, as the carousel. 10 years ago, no one said, other than my stepdad who, had dementia, and I just thought he was crazy, we need a carousel in Kingsport. That wasn't on anyone's list. But an opportunity and a group of people with a true passion came to the table. They brought a great concept. They brought their talent. They're willing to learn it. They're willing to fund it. They're willing to invest their time. And anytime we get a group in our community that have a passion that they're willing to commit to, fundraise, and work toward, then as a city, we should be there with them. And if we get a wonderful idea, and I'm out of time because I talked about how old I was, but I do think that at that point it should be able to be added.
Thank you. Alderman Duncan, as an alderman on the board, and if elected again, what would be your opinion and plan on how to get new residents involved and interested in contributing to their city?
Through One Kingsport, I think you have to look and see at least part of what Kingsport is about, and that was to make our city more competitive and how we could be more successful. And so as you get more people involved, and moving here is part of that, and so I co-chaired the housing group and was liaison, at least through part of that, with the housing issue of that. But we are getting more, the incentives that we have for developers. We built there was 13% more housing built with building permits than it was the previous year before. So it's all combined to get more people to live here. Getting them involved will be great once they get here. I think once they see the community spirit, everything we've got going on, especially through One Kingsport and the incentives that we've got, I certainly think it's we can prosper with that. But we need to look at the competitive and how we can be more successful with One Kingsport and to get people more involved.
Thank you. Candidate Cross, which One Kingsport project do you believe has been most impactful to Kingsport?
Well, look, we're in population decline, and we're no longer annexing. Those two ingredients make for a really good challenge. So we've got to bring our best game to the table to overcome that challenge so that we can maintain a level tax base and also continue to grow as a city. To pick one item out of the One Kingsport, I got to be involved in it from the ground up, and I'll tell you, I could say any of them are the best. All of them together are definitely our best option going forward from here. It's still in its infancy. Most of One Kingsport hasn't come out of the ground as far as a project, and when it does, there will be benefits attached to it because people like you contributed hours of focused effort to decide what is the best Kingsport that we can bring. And that's what this is all about, is making Kingsport the best that it can be. We love Kingsport. I'm a Kingsporter. I think One Kingsport is going to bring to Kingsport what we haven't had brought to us before.
Thank you. Candidate Cooper, after 1 year, what, in your opinion, needs to be done to continue the progress for the One Kingsport initiative?
One of the things that I know from Kingsport is that if the citizens of Kingsport believe in a project and take ownership in that project, great things happen. You look around like the Carousel, Meadowview, the YMCA, if there's an ownership and a partnership between the citizens and the leaders in city government, great things happen in Kingsport. We set the bar very high. So I think that we need to communicate and share and let the citizens in Kingsport take some ownership of some of the projects that are coming out of One Kingsport. I think that if, like I said, if we have open communication and partnership, I think we need to have a diversity of citizens when we do these projects to make sure that everyone's included. It's a very inclusive group, that we don't recycle some of the same people through the program, that we try to always constantly draw in new, fresh ideas and new citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Begley, we're starting to run out of time here. I think we've gone past our time, but we're going to finish this round of discussions. After 1 year, in your opinion, as a candidate for Board of Mayor and Alderman, should the Kingsport One initiative be continued? And if so, why?
Well, my dad, he's one of the smartest guys I know, he said, you got to be careful. The easiest thing to do is spend somebody else's money. So we have to be careful on how we spend our money, because we need to make sure we have increased revenues. Everything we do is going to have a continued cost of maintenance. I mean, so what we build today that costs $1 million, it's going to cost us $50,000 or $100,000 a year to maintain. So you start adding up those costs, or a whole lot of different projects going on at one time. They all have maintenance costs and costs associated for the future. So we have to be careful. We have to make sure that we're going to have continued revenues and to fund these projects in the future without adding taxes or adding fees in the future to pay for them.
Thank you. And candidate Adler, the last question to you. How do you feel about adding projects to the One Kingsport initiative that were not generated by the original summit?
I think I'm most concerned about following through on the priorities identified by the One Kingsport Summit. I work with students a lot every day in terms of helping them develop plans to address issues. My everyday job is working with students to help them develop leadership skills, and accountability is one of the things I stress most with my students. Accountability comes from having a calendar and defined deadlines and publicizing and sharing that. So I'm very concerned about us at this point just committing and recognizing that this has been a valid community process that included a lot of people and was a result of a lot of work and consensus, and following through on that vision. At the same time, I also think One Kingsport was both a project, but it was also a mission and a vision, and that those missions and visions evolve and change over the time. And I think, as others have said as well, that many of the best projects that will benefit Kingsport will arise organically out of the fact that there are people that live here and love this community.
Thank you so much. That concludes the question and answer portion of this segment, and we've gone over time, and I want to appreciate everybody for being here today and the candidates for coming to speak. I'm going to give you all a quick moment to make concluding remarks, and then I'll have our president come up and close the meeting out. What we'll do to make it more expeditious, I'll start with Duncan, and just pass the mic to your left, and then we'll go to you, and you can pass the mic to your right. Okay? Thank you all.
Well, thank you all for letting us be here today. Honesty, integrity, stewardship, and respect, that's been my guiding principle since I've come to the board. And so there's a lot of great candidates here today, and I really appreciate all their willingness to serve. But I asked to go with experience. Go with somebody that we've talked about a lot of progress that's just happened in the last 2 years. So I think you should take it in consideration than somebody that's lived here in the city for 37 years like Sharon and I. We've joined the board, and we have so much progress that I think that, and things that's left undone. Give me 4 more years to let's complete some of these projects. Thank you very much for letting us be here today, and let's grow Kingsport together.
Thank you. Rack Cross, and I want to give you 2 words in closing: vision and action. I think I bring those things in an experienced way, having worked with the city for 27 years. A lot of existing and growing relationships were in place before I started the campaign. I've extended that network, and I am bringing forward a vision of hope, of a Kingsport that remains strong and innovative. We go forward in our pioneer spirit, and we make things happen as a community, not as a small group imposing will upon the rest of us, but together we go forward. I'm doing that as a campaign platform. I gave you my vision from the first forum, told you where I would be. If you wanted to take a shot at me out there, I'm still there. This outdoor recreation umbrella has lots of revenue attached to it, as well as amenities that people find favorable. I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. 15 years ago, when Capricorn announced the closing of the Kingsport Press, that's where my father and my husband both worked. My husband and I had a choice. We had some opportunities to move, to relocate to in different areas of the United States. We didn't want to. We knew we wanted to live in Kingsport. So we invested back in Kingsport. We stood shoulder to shoulder and invested our own money, our dollars, back into a business. We started Kingsport Book, which now employs around 60 people, and we've invested millions of dollars back into our community through local payroll and local purchases. So I believe in Kingsport. We believe in the work ethic here in Kingsport. We believe in the Kingsport spirit and the sense of community. So we chose to stay here. So I would appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mark Vickers, in case you didn't know. Anyway, with my closing statements, I would like to say that my key components of my campaign is the citizens, infrastructure, and just working along with everybody and try to save the citizens as much money as possible. Okay? I'm going to be a common sense guy. With infrastructure, like Joe Begley said, we got to also start thinking about broadband internet, high-speed internet, and stuff like that, because that's what businesses are looking for. I've been preaching, trying to recruit tech jobs to this area the whole campaign. Tech jobs will allow us to recruit the younger generations that don't want to work in a factory. They actually go to school to work with computers and technology. They don't want to run a piece of machinery. thank you, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you for your time today. Jennifer Adler. Just wanted to close by saying my husband and I chose Kingsport. We chose to live here, and the reason why we chose to live here was driven by a lot of the work and effort of many people who came before us. We believe Kingsport is a great place to raise a family and to live, and we're grateful for that. I want to mention quickly this flyer that's on your table. This is the work of the creativity and output of young professionals in the community. I didn't design this. Folks did that were in the community. The photography is a local photographer who's also a stay-at-home mom. The design is done by a local business owner. This is the potential you have in your community. Tapping into that new generation of leadership who wants to make Kingsport great for the next generation is critically important. I'd ask for your vote in terms of thinking about the future of Kingsport and engaging those people.
Thank you. Robert Williams, look on the ballot and scroll down to the bottom. You'll find my name there. A city is a living organism, and one thing affects the other. For example, comprehensive tax reform from Washington could affect economics in Kingsport. For example, healthcare solutions in Washington could affect things in Kingsport. I think having a physician on the board would give an entirely new perspective to problems we have in our community. And I will do my best to serve the citizens fairly and equitably. I ask for your vote. Robert Williams, thank you.
Colette George, I am who I am. I'm too old to change. I do truly believe in Kingsport. I want this to be the best community it can be. I put my personal money in Kingsport, and I hope you'll vote for me.
Like Colette, we try to sell Kingsport every day, so the better we make it, the easier our job gets. So my number is 677-6778. I'll be here afterwards. Any specific questions, I'd love to have your vote.
Rather than talk about myself, I'd like to take just a moment and talk about our city. I am genuinely, sincerely excited about our future. We really have outstanding leadership in place. The staff leadership is wonderful. We have a vision. We have a business plan, if you will. We have set aside revenue that lets us make this change or these changes. We have infrastructure. We talked about the physical and operations, but our infrastructure, our waters and sewer and streets, the staff that operate those regularly get statewide recognition as being the best operated in the state and in the country. I'm all about schools. Wow. City and county cooperation, and then well, basically, we've reset the direction of the city, and I'm all about maintaining that.
We have a hand for all of our candidates.